John goes to the city. Once upon a time there was mischievous raccoon named John. He lived with a man named Jim. John lived with Jim in a big house in the country. One day Jim had to go to the city for some business. He put on his tall hat. Jim always wore a tall hat wherever he went. Jim knew that if he left John alone he would most likely get into things that he shouldn't. Jim didn't like to leave John alone, and Jim knew he had to take John with him to the city. Jim and John got in Jim's car and drove to the city. John was very excited because he hadn't been to the big city before. The closer the car got to the city, the more excited John got. Finally they came to the hotel. Jim told John to stay in the car. Jim talked to the man at the front desk and he booked a room for two. Jim went to see how John was doing. When Jim went to the car was gone. Jim was frightened. He didn't know what to do. A policeman came walking by just at that time. Jim was happy to see him. He ran to the policeman and said, "My car is missing and John is in it." The policeman said, "I just saw a yellow car go rolling down the hill and there wasn't a driver." Jim was worried about what had happened to John and the car. The policeman asked Jim what had happened. Jim thought to himself. Then he remembered that he had just had his brakes checked and the man had said the brakes needed some work done very soon. Just then another policeman came running. "I just saw a yellow car go down the hill." Both the policeman and Jim went running down the hill. At the bottom they saw the car resting on the curb. "Oh, you! Are we lucky?" said Jim. Jim was very happy at first, but he wasn't happy very long. He didn't see John anywhere. He looked and looked, but John wasn't anywhere to be found. Then as Jim turned around, out of the corner of his eye he saw John sitting in a tree. John looked very scared. Jim went over to the tree to help John. Another policeman said he had seen John running from the car after it had hit the curb. Jim was happy that John wasn't hurt. Together they went over to see if the car was all right. John and Jim took the car to the garage and got the car fixed. They both went to the hotel to pick their things up. Jim and John went back to the country. That was where John was most happy. The end. Please subscribe for more bedtime story and novels.